Hi, welcome to Chao Time. In this episode, I'll be reviewing the next watch in my collection. If my wife is watching, I'm just kidding. I'm done buying watches. This is the Rolex 39mm Explorer, reference number 214270. It's being lent to me by my friends over at Daming Watches in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. So if you're in the area, please feel free to drop by. And if you're interested in this watch, it is currently available in store. The way I review watches is by scoring them against a carefully considered rubric. I then apply a value multiplier to get a value score. If you're interested in the process, you can click on this video to learn more. The rubric link for this watch is available in the description below as well. Finally, I give a subjective opinion based on my emotions, my connection to the watch, how I'm feeling that day, because at the end of the day, that's why we buy luxury items, right? Let's get to it. Let's start with the form, feel, and visual appeal of the case and bracelet. The so-called oyster case is the distillation of classic watch case design for the last 60 years. It's wild to think that this plain case is an original design language, but I think that would be fair to say, since this watch has been in production and iterating since 1952. The case back, sides, and lug tops all have gentle curves that aid in the comfort of the watch while being understated and classy. The case side is polished while the top is straight brushed. The bezel is also polished, as is the top of the crown, where you will find the Rolex crown. The crystal is flat, which goes well with the simplistic design, but has a nice beveled edge and helps it stand out on top of the bezel. The oyster bracelet continues the theme of utilitarian design, being brushed on top and polished on the sides. The 20mm end link tapers down to 16mm at the clasp, matching the gentle slopes of the case while being quite comfortable. The only element that looks off is the overbuilt clasp. It stands proud and doesn't match any of the design aesthetics of the rest of the watch. The fold-over retention clasp also makes use of the Rolex crown. I guess if you're Rolex though, you need to put the crown in as many places as would tastefully fit. 9 out of 10. As for the watch's functional score, let's start with the bracelet and work our way back to the case. There are 3 micro-adjust detents hidden underneath the clasp. The clasp snaps reassuringly into place. This part looks like it will last a long time. The fold-over retention also snaps in place in a satisfying way. This is hard to describe and no doubt does not come across adequately on video. While not as satisfying as a ceramic ball, this system is nice. The removable links are held by screws, and the tolerances of the bracelet are of the quality you would expect from a watch with a retail price of around $8,000. The solid end link sits tightly within the lugs. The case and bracelet are made of 916L steel, a softer steel that unfortunately does not resist scratches very well. And as this is not my personal watch, I have been very careful not to put this watch down on anything other than felt. The sapphire crystal resists scratches, but has no AR coating to assist with visibility. It could be argued that this gives the glass even higher light transmission, but I'm sure that is almost undetectable to the eye. The crown is smallish, but has ridges for ease of use. It does extend beyond the case back, and that helps the user gain purchase. Quality control does not seem to be a problem with this watch, even though there are some that point out minor imperfections through loops. Remember though, this is a mass-produced watch, and the issues are most likely overblown compared to the number of watches sold every year. 8.5 out of 10. Moving on to the dial. The Rolex name and crown are printed. I believe this makes sense instead of an applied crown, since this watch is intended to be a low-key tool watch. The print is all clear and crisp. The white gold indices are fairly flat, but are polished and shiny, which increases legibility. They are lume-filled with the industry standard bearer for longevity in phosphorus-based lume. I almost want to complain that the width of the lume on the minute hand is too narrow, but it's still legible. The white lume contrasts well with the matte black dial. In fact, the watch is about as legible as possible, devoid of any clutter. The dial has an industrial quality to it, which holds the various elements of the dial together with the case. Well executed. 9 for form, 10 for function. The movement hidden behind the unadorned caseback is the caliber 3132. This in-house heart boasts technological achievements such as the Parachrome hairspring and Paraflex shock absorbers. These are made from alloys that aid in the durability and overall reliability of the movement. It should be noted, though, that I'm merely parroting market speak at this point, as I am not an engineer or qualified to make judgments about the materials and processes. However, many watchmakers testify to the robustness of these movements, and I will defer to their expertise. The movement is well finished and exemplifies the personality. Functional, simple, beautiful. The watch is COSC certified and then labeled as superlative by Rolex's own in-house criteria, the most well-known being the plus and minus 2 second per day accuracy. It beats at a rate of 28,800 beats per minute and has a power reserve of 48 hours. The 3132 is a 3-hand watch with no complications. 8 for form, 7 for function. So far, the objective category scored 51.5 out of 60. The lone subjective category, Heritage and Prestige, is easy to rate. Rolex has been making watches since 1905. The brand has been respected for the last 50 years as a reliable tool for a variety of professionals. In the last 30 years, the brand has really become a powerhouse of pop culture. It's now a symbol of status and wealth. It's often purchased by non-watch enthusiasts right after a BMW or Porsche as a way of flaunting disposable income. It's the combination of these two worlds that makes this brand so special. The watch is well respected by those in the community for its durability, history, and legacy. Meanwhile, it's built such a strong brand cachet that it's also become a symbol of high-end watchmaking to the general public. Make no mistake, every major watch brand in the world would love to be in Rolex's position, to sell a mass-produced watch so well that there's a fear of scarcity. 9 out of 10, making this the first watch to ever break the 60-point barrier on this channel. The 39mm Explorer was discontinued and replaced with the return to the 36mm model this year, which is 2021, depending on when you see this video. As such, prices for this model are highly volatile, but seem to have cooled off recently. They are going on the used market for between $10,000 and $15,000 USD. When prices exceed $5,500, the value multiplier no longer decreases, so it matters little what price I choose. Even at the low end of $10,000 USD, the multiplier is already bottomed out at 1. A total score of 60.5 times 1 gives us a value score of, you guessed it, 60.5. So, that brings me to my personal opinion of this watch. I've lusted after this watch for quite some time now, and actually in the Rolex catalog, the 40mm Rolex Explorer 2 in the polar dial and this watch were kind of the two watches that I'd been interested in. And after having the watch now and staring at it on my wrist, my feelings have not changed. In fact, they've intensified. There's something about a simple, functional design with a touch of class that just draws me in. It's understated. Finally, I really like the idea of having a Rolex that flies under the radar. However, due to the high asking price, I don't feel like I'm in the position to be wearing a $11,500 watch as a daily wear watch. I would be afraid of scratching it or banging it up against the door or dropping it. One day. Do you agree with the scoring? Think there's anything about the rubric that should be changed? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye y'all.